a goal, Quishbilly Huddersfield Town! The most famous goal of Quishbilly's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Thank you.
And Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. The big question of have Huddersfield Town turned a corner was postponed until this week. And unfortunately, the game wasn't, as Huddersfield Town and manager Lee Grant answered the question in earnest. It was a defeat with the last kick of the game as Town conceded late to lose points for the second game running. Losing points is what I do best on this podcast. And here to help me stay in my lane, I've got Ian Kilroy and ex-Town keeper, cult hero, and Malcolm Murgatroyd's favourite goalkeeper. It's Phil Senior. How are we doing, boys?
Right, boys.
Right, guys, before we get into the football, I want to firstly talk about Terry Yorath. Sadly, we lost Terry Yorath this week after a short illness. I've got a lot of fond memories of Terry Yorath as a fan. I thought him and Jacko were just the most, from a fan looking outside in, they just seem to be the most perfect combination. Jacko with his bravado and sort of making everything big, and then Terry Yorath seemed to be the one just to sort of like almost like a kid, like someone holding a balloon, wasn't it, making sure they didn't get too carried away, and he was the grounded one behind, and there was such a great double act. And one thing I remember, Phil, was I ended up so when Huddersfield played at Elland Road, I think it might have been 2014 or 13, there was a game where we won 2-1. Matt Robbins was manager, Neil Dans and James Vaughan scored, and we won 2-1. And my uncle is unfortunately has that raging chest wanker disease, and he had a box at Elland Road in their corporate area. And he invited me in for that game. And honestly, after we won that was the last time ever I was going to go in at Leeds, because I wanted to be over with the fans. When we won and stuff, I felt like a bit disappointed I was over at the other side. But it was free, and they did these massive Yorkshire puddings, which were great. But anyway, the speaker at that point was Terry Yorath. He was doing the behind the scenes speaking, and I think a lot of Leeds fans were looking for someone to dig out Huddersfield, being the local village idiots down the road, etc. And there were a few sort of negative comments, and Terry Yorath shut them down every time and said what a wonderful time he had at Huddersfield, and he wouldn't have any bad word to say about Huddersfield. When you're in that kind of environment, it's almost like a laddie environment where you have your little in jokes and stuff. And almost, I remember when Simon Grayson said something in a similar setting where he mentioned Huddersfield as the small club down the road after he'd managed us. But Terry Yorath wouldn't. He was very nice about Huddersfield Town and wouldn't have anything to do with that. And I just thought at the time, what a good man, what a good bloke, Terry Yorath. You know what I mean? Never let anyone say anything bad about Huddersfield. He obviously has a massive Leeds United connection, and he was brilliant there. But he just went up. He was already high in my estimation, but after seeing that and him not having him shutting that down, I just thought, what a great guy, Terry Yorath. But Phil, you must have a lot of great memories having played under Jacko and Terry Yorath as well, about what he was like and what he was like as a coach, and must have some good stories that you could tell us from the good days.
Yeah, I've listened to I've listened to quite a lot of stuff linked in with Taff, because obviously it's pretty difficult, because it was a time when my favourite time of being at Huddersfield and my biggest and best memories, and he was a major part of that. The way that he held himself, the way that he behaved in and around the lads. I messaged Jordan the other day and just let him know my thoughts about him, because, like I say, he was just an absolutely unbelievable fellow, and it's nice to know that some of the things I've kind of witnessed and seen was how he was always. I was listening to you and Robertson. He mentioned about how scary he was, kind of his personality. He was a tough guy, and when you knew that he wasn't happy with something, you knew. Almost like an angry parent or an angry teacher. When we had respect for teachers and parents years ago, and you just knew where you stood straight away. But he also had a fantastic sense of humour, and it was a great balance between him and Jacko. Jacko being kind of like the class clown, and on many occasions you'd seen Taff kind of looking as if to say, "What are you doing?" kind of thing. But they obviously balanced off really well together. Taff was the brains behind everything that we would do when we were there. So, the training, everything was fantastic. It was high tempo. It was, very energetic, and all with a purpose. And that was from Taff. His understanding of the game was like second to none. But it wasn't big time. So you would never think that Taff had done what he'd done in his career, because of the way that he held himself. He would question, if he did things right or not, but he wouldn't be kind of like, well, I could do that better. These expectations should be this. He knew where we were at. He knew we were all kids. He knew we were at League Two, and obviously I can only talk when I was there first. And that was an acceptance, and he was there to help us and develop us. And from what I've seen in the game for many years, there's a lot of arrogance. A lot of people with chips on their shoulder because they've come from certain places, and he was never ever like that. Like I say, there were a couple of stories, and one that really sticks out in my head, and this goes to show how much he cared about people. But a big one was with Lee Fowler, and we had gone to we played Bristol. We played Torquay on the Saturday, and then Bristol Rovers on the Tuesday when I had a bit of a nightmare. And we stayed over in a hotel Saturday night, Sunday night. Monday night, I think, and then obviously I think we had the game on Tuesday. It might have been a Monday game, I can't remember. And Taff and Lee had a few words, and Lee was quite emotional, was quite upset. I had to go and drag him out of the toilet and have a bit of a word with him. But Taff really cared about Lee. It didn't really need to be like that, but because of the connection with Wales, etc., and Lee being a young lad, Taff was kind of like one of those people that wanted to help him. He could kind of see a little bit of himself inside, and what Lee was like, and he was a massive support for Lee, and I'm sure Lee would echo these thoughts as well. So, yeah, it's quite a difficult time. I saw him when we played at Leeds. We got a bit of a spanking the other year, and I passed him outside the ground with Jordan. We had a bit of a hug and stuff, and a nice natter, and he spoke to my kids. And like I say again, that's not something that people need to do, but he did, and he just honestly just a top fella. And I know he's obviously been through a lot in his life, but I'm glad that he started to build bridges towards the end of it, because, like I say, he's such a special person and will be missed big time.
Yeah, I echo that, Phil. So Terry Yorath, born 27th of March 1950, died on the 8th of January 2026. Thank you for everything that you did for Huddersfield Town, Terry, because the connection that him and Peter Jackson had with the fans, even going back, Phil, to that game where, was it you who saved Frank Worthington's penalty?
Yeah.
Was that you? That was you, wasn't it? Who did? How could you do that, Frank? How could you do that to Frank Worthington, Phil? But in that All Stars, I can't forgive you for that, Phil. But that All Stars game, coming back and doing that for nothing. Do you know what I mean? Just because you had a connection with the football club and you love the football club, and
how can you not? How can you not save that penalty and to say that you've saved one of Frank Worthington's penalties? Like, I can now say that I've saved Frank Worthington. I used to sit in the stands at Leeds Road when Souness and Dalglish and that played, and they had that testimonial. And obviously they give the penalty away and they let him have. Souness lost his head and etc. And I remember thinking, Frank Worthington scored, and I thought to myself, my dad said, don't forget he chips it down the middle for his penalties. I'm standing still and I'm catching it. I'm not letting him score.
You're a bad man, Phil Senior. But we'll go back to Terry Yorath. What Terry Yorath did with Peter Jackson, the Great Escape, improving us the year after, 98, and then he had us, they took us from relegation candidates or relegation fodder, really, all the way to, in the top six that last season. It just unfortunately fell away towards the end. I think injuries and a small squad kind of did for us a little bit, but they were harshly swapped for Steve Bruce, I think everyone thought at the time. But then no grudges. They've come back when Huddersfield Town were in their hour of need and helped this football club get back on its feet and get us going in the right direction again. So from us on this podcast, I hope I speak for you, everyone that does it. Thank you so much, Terry Yorath, because you've given so much to us over the year. What a man. Thank you. Okay, guys, so we have to move on to Huddersfield at Stockport, unfortunately, and we'll give Phil more hammer for... Was that the only penalty you say, Phil? Poor Frank Worthington, because I still can't get over you did that to Frank.
Same loads in training.
We had the bad news, didn't we, on during the week that obviously Terry Yorath is the real bad news, but we had disappointing news. Leo Castledine was going back as well. It kind of hit, I think, a lot of Town fans quite hard. I was really disappointed by the news that he was going. I think the club thought or hoped at the start of the window that he would be staying. Goalpost shifted. Josh Marsh got his revenge on all of us at Huddersfield for slagging him off all those years ago when we were in the Premier League and whatnot, because he's the loans manager now at Chelsea. But I didn't get it, Killer. For me, we when we did that thing on Castledine in December, and we thought we didn't think he would go on loan anywhere else, did we? But we did say that there could be a possibility Chelsea would sell him. From what I've heard from someone in the game who's not connected to Huddersfield, I'll just say that the fee is 1.5 million. I mean, if he snags 20 goals this season for Huddersfield, in his last 10 games, he's got 8 goals and 1 assist. If he gets 20 for Huddersfield Town, they're doubling that. So it feels a really strange sale to me. I'm not saying it's vindictive against us, because I'm sure it's definitely not, because Huddersfield and Chelsea have a great relationship, don't they, with loans. But I just looked at it and went, why are you selling him for 1.5 million? Leave him at Huddersfield till the end of the season. He probably gets 20 goals. You probably get 4 or 5 million for him then. It seemed Chelsea seemed desperate to get, and his contract was out in 2027. And I know 18 months is the ideal time to sell someone, isn't it, with contracts? But I just thought it was a little bit strange, Killer. For when you hear the price, you think, well, what's the point?
I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Like you say, Matt, it doesn't make much sense from Chelsea's perspective in that it's not very much money at all. And like you say, he's having such a good season with us. You think by the end of the year he's going to be worth a lot more than he is at that point. I feel like they've still got an option on his contract as well. So there's all sorts of things he could do. It's a strange one, but then to me, Matt, it sounds like Leo Castledine wanted to make the move. It sounded like his agent was doing a little bit of talking. There was stuff being released here, then everywhere. Over the summer as well, prior to coming to us, remember, there was talk of him wanting to get a permanent deal to a championship club. He ended up on loan with us. So obviously it didn't go away the way he wanted it to go in the summer, Matt. But I'm with you. It's a strange one. It's a real strange one, because he was pretty much the first name on the team sheet for us. He was in a club that's expected or wanting to do well towards the end of this season, and he's the main man, first man on the team sheet. How much is he going to play at Middlesbrough this year? It's such a strange one from all perspectives, but I understand financially for him, this is a very smart move. And for that reason alone, I do kind of get it. But from Chelsea's perspective, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, 4.5-year deal, Leo Castledine, he's looking at that going, he's going to get paid well there. He's going to get, a decent amount from Middlesbrough. Great club. Phil, I mean, you played in football. Is there something me and Killer are missing?
I think it's I think it's sad, and I think it's the way that football's moving now. But for me personally, I think on a personal note, for me, he should want to really stay. He's performing really well. He's learning his trade. He's only young. He's settled in a team that are almost playing in a way that suits him, kind of built around him. So, he could now transfer to Middlesbrough and get very little game time. That's my concern for him. But going back to what you said, Matt, 4 years plus contract, big money. It's.
I get it from him. Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is it, isn't it? And if that's one of the driving forces, like I say, 1.5 million for Chelsea is absolute peanuts. So I can't see it's them thinking, right, well, we need to recoup a little bit of money for him, because it's nothing for them. So I agree with what you say. Like, you keep him here, he scores a few more goals. His value increases, and that's better for Chelsea. But as a player, I can understand the money and the kind of the long term contract is brilliant. For a young lad, it takes him up to 25, whatever. But in terms of performance and development, I don't know if it's... Well, time will tell, won't it? But, I mean, I think he was developing really well with us, so...
I think a lot of Huddersfield fans will wish him well and continue to monitor his career and cheerlead him a little bit, because he did well for us. And I think when Middlesbrough on Sky, I think I'll have I tend not to watch a lot of other teams because Huddersfield annoy me so much. I can't watch any more football once I've watched Huddersfield. I can't cope with it. But especially if we lose. But if we win, I'll watch football all weekend. But if we lose, I don't watch anything.
I think it's difficult with a loan player. I mean, the first question is like allowing a loan player to leave halfway through the season. What's the thought in that? Was it concern where they weren't sure whether it'd be good enough for us, and it's an easy option just to say, yeah, we can get rid of, or obviously Chelsea, maybe had that recall in there. I'm not sure, but I just think sometimes like trying to replace somebody in January who was firing. It's quite difficult. I know it's happened in the past with other players, but it's a bit of a kick in teeth, really, I think, because we had a little bit of momentum there.
Like Peter Unlove all over again, Phil, back from when you played.
Yeah.
I mean, we only had him for a few months, and he was amazing. And went to Sheffield United, didn't pull up any trees. But anyway, the replacement came in before Castledine left, or what we thought was the replacement. Cameron Humphreys came in, had a good spell at Wycombe last year. Killer will get round to doing a signed, sealed, delivered episode, won't we? At some point on him. Then he gets put in central midfield against Stockport. I did not get this. I get throwing him straight in. Lee Grant knows him well. He's known him from Ipswich. He's got a trust in him, which is great. But he played the majority of his time at Wycombe as that attacking midfielder, which similar to Castledine, is left-footed, so he can play on that left side. And then he's tucked him as the number 6 on the right-hand side of midfield, and he struggled in that first half. Because he's playing in such an unfamiliar role. I just thought I thought the setup was really poor from Lee Grant. And I know we talked about in the driving, didn't we, Killer? If Castledine was going to go or couldn't play, Harness might play 10. So another win for the driving. Harness kind of played higher on the left-hand side, but that really didn't work because then there was no one to really pass the ball out. And the midfield, Ledson was doing his John Cena impression again, wasn't he? So the midfield just really didn't work, and I think part of that was from tinkering the Harness and Humphreys role. But I will say I thought Humphreys did really well second half. I don't want to get too far down the track, but I thought he grew into the game second half, and I thought he played quite well in that second period, and especially when Will Alves came on, there was some nice little link-ups there and some really good work from Cameron Humphreys. So I'm really hopeful that he's going to be a good player for us. I think the worry, guys, is that he's very different to Castledine. We lost Ben Wiles as well this week. He transferred to MK Don, so please send your thoughts and prayers to Mr. Ian Kilroy over there of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast, who is very upset and very touchy about this subject at the minute. But we've got 2 players there who do very specific jobs, right? We've brought in Cameron Humphreys, who's neither Ben Wiles and he's neither Leo Castledine. So there's obviously going to be some restructuring in there. What were your thoughts, Killer, on the way that we set up? I saw the team and I was like, all right, he's just going to put Humphreys where Castledine was. And then when you saw it line up, it was like, well, this isn't really working. Why has he done that? Why has he changed?
Oh, I thought it was a joke, to be honest, Matt. We spoke about it on the drive-in, worrying about Harness being moved from the position where he's actually been very influential in the way Town have gone forward and the way we've suddenly got into a decent run of form, because Harness next to Ryan Ledson works. They work well as a partnership. Why mess with that? I honestly, I don't understand it. And with you on that, Matt, we spoke about Humphreys coming in. I suggested he'd probably start this weekend. I kind of expected Grant to chuck him straight in. But again, I thought he'd have been up as that 10, Matt, but that's not what we got. Not at all. He was, like you say, next to Ledson and just struggled, like you say, first 45 minutes, Matt. He didn't complete a pass or was very, very few anyway. He was all over the shop, and 70 minutes in, the game changes a lot because of Alves coming on. But with the setup as it was initially, it was wrong, Matt. But there was another issue I had as well, in that Camacho, he was starting last week. He's totally removed from the squad for this game. Lee Grant's done a Lee Grant, hasn't he? Somebody mentioned something after the game to me, in that Town have been best this year when we've struggled with injuries or suspensions, and when we've had a smaller squad to select from. Lee Grant's then, his hand's been played for him somewhat. As soon as everybody's back fit, as soon as we have options, it seems to be that there's tweaks here, there, and everywhere. People are dropped out of the squad with very little explanation or understanding. Ruben Ruskin comes straight back in cold, having missed out. Again, the setup to me, Matt, and the lineup, including the bench, was off from the start. Never mind the Alfie May fiasco and whether he's actually injured or if something has happened in training. It was just another game where as soon as that lineup comes out, Matt, it's a little bit deflating. I think that's how I felt when I saw it.
The Alfie May thing was weird, wasn't it, Phil? I mean, you can talk about the lineup as well, but Alfie May, if he's injured, he's injured. That's fine. But it's the way Lee Grant kind of says it, isn't it? It kind of like, it's very open-ended. It's like an open-ended answer, because instead of just saying, yeah, he picked up a knock in training, why can't you just say he picked up a knock in training, rather than sort of saying, well, Alfie May didn't think that he could complete training, so we can't play him today? Because that leaves so many questions, because it leads on to questions, because people are going, did Alfie May refuse to train? Did he have an injury? Did he do something else? And has he annoyed you? You know, just speak normally. Just say, sometimes if you could speak to Lee Grant, you just say, look, you've come in saying Northern football, and this is football for Northerners. Northerners don't talk like this when we talk games. Just say he's injured, and then that closes it off. Nobody's got a question, and it's just like, I don't understand why he talks like that. I don't get infuriated, but other people do, and it leads to questions. But I understand it. It's a bit weird.
I don't blame on people. I can't listen to his presses. Honestly, some of this rubbish that comes out, it's too detailed. Just give us, like you said, give us the honest answer. If he's saying Alfie May doesn't feel like he can train, then, like you say, this question's there, isn't there, straight away. No, Alfie May couldn't train, or Alfie May can train, or Alfie May isn't in the squad because we don't want him in the squad, etc. Just be really, really honest. I don't get that. I really don't get it.
Do you think there's a power thing there with Alfie May? Because we've seen before Alfie May shouting at Lee Grant before. Do you think there's like a bit of maybe a bit of an issue between the two? I know he's picked him recently, and I saw them hugging last week and stuff after the game. Everything looked great, but there's been a few flashpoints, haven't there? Do you think there's? I don't really want to be stirring or anything, but
no, I don't think it's stirring. I think it's just an observation, isn't it? I mean, I've seen a lot. You know, there's been a lot of conversation where Alfie May seems to be the one that's in direct conversation. I'd like my captain to step up a little bit more and take hold of that, be more assertive. And maybe some of the older pros, except well, you know my stance on it anyway. So, but maybe some of the older pros as well. So, but you want characters on your pitch that care. Alfie May cares. You know, I don't think he does it for show. I think he's one of these characters that likes a bit of attention. But I don't think he does things for show on the field. He's a winner. He wants to win. And if he thinks he sees something, then I'm sure he'll put his point across. But that's where your manager's got to be a little bit stronger, haven't they? And make sure, because you're going to get those players. Bloody hell, I've played with loads of players like that feel like they know more, they know better than the manager, or etc. But at the end of the day, you've got to be able to deal with that.
Yeah, that's true, and that's always been one of your criticisms, hasn't it, Killer? That he's handling of the squad, really, and people in the squad, and there are some strange things. But the way Town lined up here, Phil, I don't know if Phil's back with us. He looked like he frozen for a second. Town were really defensive in this lineup, and again, it goes back to, and there's a lot of Town fans annoyed at the end. They're chanting, Lee Grant, your football is blah, 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 and very unhappy. And we'll talk about that in a bit more detail towards the end. But Stockport are good. Let's not get away from this point. Stockport are very good on the ball, very good in midfield. They made things very difficult for us because they forced us deeper, which was partly due to, I think, the team selection on the day, whereby Harness and Ledson weren't in the middle. I think what we had was 3 nervous defenders on the ball who wanted to play into midfield, but the midfield, especially around Ledson, didn't particularly show very well for the ball. And if they did, Stockport's press was very good. I think you have to credit Stockport's press. It was very good. We played out wide to Gooch quite a lot, and Gooch wasn't quite on form. Ruben Ruskin I'll talk about in a while, but I think he showed us why Sorensen's been playing on the left-hand side out of position. He had an awful game, did Ruben Ruskin. But Town really struggled, and we ended up just aimlessly hoofing the ball forward in the direction of Bojan Radulovic. And I thought Murray Wallace was great at the back in his defensive work. There was that one error whereby Wootton has the air shot, but Wallace kind of recovers, I think, and puts him off. But the only reason why in my play ratings why I've got Wallace as a 7 and not any higher is because of the amount of aimless long balls forward from not just him, but a lot of the defenders. And what Stockport also did really well is they pressed Balker as soon as he got the ball and didn't let him play out from the back. And they let Joe Lowe have the ball. And Joe Lowe did all right, I think, in a lot of what he did. But on the ball, he was very panicked, and it's not his strength. And I don't think he's particularly likes playing in the middle of the three. I think he likes to be on the right by the looks of things. There was a lot to like about Stockport and what they did, but at the same token, Stockport for form at home in the league are 16th in the table. Why Huddersfield Town going there to shut up shop for 70 minutes to then try and nick something in the last 10, 15 minutes? I think this is the disconnect again with what we've been told at the start. And I know it's a valid tactic. And Phil, you've probably played in lots of teams that have tried to be tight and then open up towards the end and win it, which is fine in some ways, but it's so disconnected from what we were sort of sold at the start. And we tried to do the same at Lincoln, and we struggled to keep them out. I thought defensively, we actually did quite a fairly decentish job of keeping the ball, of defending the box against Stockport. I thought Wallace was good. Lowe did his bit. Balker was good, I thought. But it just doesn't connect with what we've been told. I mean, I think a lot of Town fans, after spending £1 million plus on Alfie May, bringing in Ledson, Lowe for money, Rowan for money, etc., I think they expect a bit more front foot football like we were promised. So when you go away and sit deep for 70 minutes, I mean, Lee Grant kind of said that again, it's not him, it's the players, and he's kind of shirking responsibility, which drives you mad, doesn't it, Killer? But it must have been the game plan to a point. I know he's not telling them to not complete passes, etc., but it just seemed that the way to get at the team that's 16th in the league for home form wasn't really to sit deep and just let them bombard the box, surely, especially when they've got Kyle Wootton. It didn't make sense to me. Killer.
Matt, why? What? The thing is, at the centre back, we defended well, Matt, but then we still sat back so deep. It just gave them all the ball in front of the defence. So, okay, the back three centre backs won everything in the air. That's fine, but they never got out. They never got higher. So it just meant Stockport had so much possession in that midfield. The other thing that drives me nuts, and is another reason why the ball kept coming back, is that our wing backs, even with the back three, constantly go and hug both touchlines at the same time. Now, that is mental. For one main reason, in that it just means you've got nobody in the middle of the field. You should go down one wing or the other and you shift across, and that's how you keep your numbers up. All Stockport did to press was press fast, Matt, but centrally they just made it, like you say, funnel away from Balker. He's the guy that can play the ball a little bit. They kept it away from him as much as possible. Joe Lowe isn't going to be able to progress the ball up the field. Murray Wallace isn't going to progress the ball up the field. And Bojan Radulovic, whilst he is a bigger guy and stronger than he was previously, Matt, he ain't going to win every single... He's not a beast up top, is he? He's not the guy that's going to win every flick on to a Dion Charles that's offside every time anyway. It's just not that kind of game plan. But, Matt, there is nothing in yesterday's performance that was brave. There was nothing in yesterday's performance, like you said, that was front foot football or normal football as it's sold.
I completely disagree with you on this. The only bit of bravery we saw was Brookie getting out of his seat to go lamp a Stockport fan in that second half. I think I don't quite know what happened because it cut away, but there's Brookie was up and there seemed to be a little bit of a commotion on the TV. And
that was it. That was it, Matt. That was the only. That was the only moment.
I'm being facetious there, but yeah.
But there was absolutely nothing. There was just nothing from Town. It was passive. It was negative. It was like yesterday's game was apt to be on FA Cup third round weekend, because it was like we were a non-league team going away from home to a team from a much better division, and we were just going to hold on for dear life and try and counter something at some point. That's how it looked. And I think if you asked any neutral who didn't know much about football, and what was going on, they'd have suggested something similar. I thought the game was so one-sided by design from Town, and that's a part that upset me the most. It wasn't that the players had a bad day. It was the setup became a weird back five pretty much after the first 10 minutes, where 10 minutes are always a little bit frantic. They don't really represent how the game's going to go. Everyone starts, it's a bit fast, and once it settles, then you see what happens for the next 60 minutes or until the substitutions come on and try and change games. we were just overrun. But it was overrun by design. We never tried to press. Did we press high at all at any point? I don't think we did. I can't remember was even trying to break Stockport down. It was kamikaze football in that, okay, we hung on for quite a while, for a very, very long while, but it was only ever a matter of time. And it was similar to the Lincoln game. And I know we got in front of Lincoln, and realistically, if May takes the second chance, we win that game. And we all sit here thinking, oh, it's an amazing away performance. It wasn't. And not for a team of our stature and of our expectations. And again, what we were promised prior to the season. Yesterday's Town performance and setup was, for me, unacceptable. And even if it had finished a little bit differently, it wouldn't have been acceptable how that 70 minutes went. We invited all the pressure on ourselves, and you shouldn't do that. Not week in and week out, because this is now becoming a pattern, and that's my issue with it, Matt. It's not the players making these decisions to me. It's a managerial decision to play this way, and that's the part that upsets me the most, because every time some Lee Grant speaks about it after the game, it's suggested that it's just the players not doing the right thing. Whereas I think that's not fair on fans watching it. Because I think we can all see what's going on. We can see what the game plan is, and we all don't want to play that way. But if you come out and say, no, this is how we wanted to play, this is how we're designed to play, fair enough, but we don't even get that. And I think that's what's really upset me with the way we set up and started the game.
Phil, I mean, like I say, it's a valid tactic, isn't it? Just to soak up the pressure. And it kind of, I think Lee Clark almost called him. There's a lot of similarities, I think, between Lee Clark and Lee Grant. Lee Grant does say in his post-match, the idea was to go there, make it difficult for them, and then spring out. And was this just a good Stockport performance? I think Stockport played quite well on the day. I think they looked better than us. But I think we've got a right, haven't we, to sort of expect a little bit more from Town, even though we've lost 7 out of 13 away games or something like that. We're not good away from home. We do struggle. My expectation for the match wasn't particularly high. I'm not sat here frothing about it, but I'm just a little bit disappointed that I think the problem is when you go away from home and you're so defensive, it doesn't look good when you lose. I think that's the only way, and people just go away really disappointed that you've defended, then shit the bed at the end. I think it's that, really, isn't it, Phil?
There's a bit of a difference in there. I don't think I've ever had a manager that's told us as players to sit back and soak up pressure and be defensive, because it's not going to happen, is it? There's going to, it's like throwing a dart on treble 20. At some point this year, I will get a treble 20 in my darts board at home, because if I'm going to invite that pressure, I'm going to get it. So I don't think I kind of understand that he wants to be solid. I get that, a solid base, but there has to be an outlet. Unfortunately, that's a problem, and our outlet is our outlet involves our players being on top form, being really good with the ball. We stay narrow, but it involves forward runs. And unfortunately for me, fortunately for me, I missed the first 70 minutes. Buzzing. So I turned it on when we looked like we had a little bit of a threat. Made a couple of substitutions, but again, it was a lot of players running with the ball and kind of breaking lines. And then from that, the quality further up the pitch was shocking. I think Bojan's done really well recently. I think he, I do think he's won a lot of balls in the air. I do think he's crafted hard.
He won 12 out of 20. Yeah, he won 12 out of 20, and he got a lot of pushes in the back. I thought he did quite well, to be honest.
And I think he's been, one of my mates, he thinks we should get rid of him. He thinks he's rubbish, but I don't.
No, I like him.
I think he's made a big difference to us this season for his performances. But unfortunately, we haven't really got anyone off the side of him who's really stepped up consistently. We've talked about, fans were screaming for Alfie May and Joe Taylor to be playing. I've seen Alfie May miss so many simple chances in front of goals. So, I mean, I think he's played well. I think he's done well. But I've seen him just miss the same chances. So it's not so much about the players, it's the quality that we're seeing on the pitch. And I think, on the other day on Saturday, we looked all right when I turned the TV on, but there's just something in there where we're so weak in midfield. It's so easy to play through us. We've got players who don't pick players up. We're marking space. We've got 3 players at the back marking 1 player at times, and we haven't got centre midfielders who are stepping onto a midfielder and putting pressure up the pitch. We're actually shielding 3 centre halves. It's awful to watch. And then that kills your wingers. It kills your strikers because they're legging it back trying to pick up midfielders when really we don't need to. It's just all a little bit disjointed. And there's blame on both sides for me, I think. There's blame on the manager because it's not working. It isn't. You know, you know me. I'm an optimist, and we've been to Rotherham away, we've been to Lincoln away, and I know fans will say, "Well, the rubbish teams we're playing with." I'm not bothered about quality of teams. I'm bothered about are we showing a little bit of something on the pitch, and I feel like we started to do that.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, it's kind of like the exit. It's just dropped off, and there's no kind of spark, and I don't know.
There's no personality in the team. I think I just don't think there's a personality there.
And I think, and I don't think you have to have these players. You know, this buying in of, you know, we have no affiliation to players. I don't feel like fans need to have affiliation with players. Players just need to play well. We like players who are doing well, and it's not just us; it's every fan. We like teams. I've said this before, and it's like a broken record. We like teams who are playing well. All of a sudden, we start playing well. Everyone's, you know, the crowd the other day at the stadium. I can't remember who we're playing now. And we scored a few goals. I got everyone singing around. We like this team again, and all of a sudden,
Port Vale.
Port Vale, and we're back down to square one. Everybody hates everybody. We're rubbish. It's, you know, there's a rot, and I get it, but there's just got to be a little bit more, aren't they, from the pitch, and we're all kind of seeing the same things now. That we've spent all this money. Yeah, fine. They're still going to gel though. Just because we spent loads of money, doesn't mean we're going to be outstanding. But they've just got to perform on the pitch. For me personally, the players aren't performing. I'm sorry. We can talk about the manager all we want, but some of the players on that pitch are not performing. I think Murray Wallace has been absolutely class, and he's been a massive difference to us, because you can see there that experience that he's got at the back. He's a game changer for us at the moment. Because I think if he hadn't been fit, I think we'd be struggling big time.
Yeah, I think Murray Wallace was everyone's man of the match on Saturday.
Last month he's been absolutely class.
Yeah, do you know what? Balker for me was close. Was quite close. I thought he was good as well. But let's move on then. There were points with Bojan as well where he was at right back during the game, and I remember just sat there watching. Why is Bojan at right back here? What is going on? But Bojan was limping for a lot of this game, and controversial again. Matt's going to moan about the referee. It's becoming a weekly thing, this, isn't it, Killer? I've tried my best over the last couple of years to calm it with the referees, but I thought the foul by Aidun on Bojan could, I think, higher up the pyramid, VAR looks at that and it's a red card. He's gone over the ball. He's gone into Bojan's shin with his studs. You could see when he pulls his socks down. There's a gash on his shin, and it's not like Lyndon Gooch with the tiniest stampy shin pads either. I thought there was a shout there for. I don't blame the referee for not giving it. By the way, I don't think it's as clear on the field as when you get the gift of a slow motion replay. By the way, so I'm not going to hammer the referee too much. But on another day, to use a Mark Fotheringham, on another day, it could have been a red and a game changer. But I don't think Town deserves that. If that's what, by the same token, I don't think Town forced Stockport into that. But Bojan, I thought was good in his work rate. He won a lot. Like I say, won a lot of flick-ons. Nobody ever gambled on them. Question for you, Phil. Who's offside more in football, Dion Charles or Clyde Vineyard?
No, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Both, just as bad. I'm saying Dion Charles. I really am saying Dion Charles. Some
of those were just crazy on Saturday. I mean, there was one where he pressed and he ran past a Stockport player, and he ran 10 yards past them. He basically dropped the shoulder on him, and he ran past them, and then he walked back, and we won the ball in midfield to play it forward, and he was stood offside, and it's like little things like that. I just like, come on, and do you know what? Fair play to Dion Charles in a lot of ways. He does work hard. He does run. Yeah. He does run his backside off, and there is that side of him which you can enjoy, but the quality on the ball of him is so poor at the minute. He kind of looked like he'd come through that period whereby he was struggling, and he scored some goals, and it's like, great, we've got the player that we thought we were getting, and he's gone back again now, and it's disappointing to see because his work rate is likable, isn't it, Phil?
Yeah, 100%. I can never get annoyed with him. Well, I can, but there's part of me that just lets him off because he does graft, and he's not making mistakes on purpose. You know, it's just the quality into it. And but you know, I love a trier, and he works hard all the time. And maybe he doesn't time his runs right, but at least he's making his runs. But he's poor lad. He's always getting caught offside in there. Maybe it might be the players that need to move the ball quicker for him.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Maybe. Possibly. There's always two sides to it, isn't there? Killer. Little notes I've got here: midfield rubbish, offside, Dion Charles or Clyde Vineyard, the red card. Pick up whichever one you want and run with it, mate. On this.
Well, just first half, there was nothing. It was just awful. It was just so poor. I do think Bojan actually did all right winning these challenges, Matt. For the red card shout you're talking about, I feel like if you gave him a red card for that, you could argue that Gooch's foul for where the goal comes from at the end was pretty nasty as well and unnecessary. It's just it was just poor. Dion Charles, like you say, if Bojan's winning the ball, Dion Charles might run a lot. He's offside a lot, but he doesn't play close to Bojan at all. And the only way we were going to get into this game was a long ball to Bojan and Charles playing off him.
Yeah.
But either he doesn't have the brain to understand that, and nobody from the side has the brain to tell him to go stand next to Bojan, because the formation ended up a 5-3-2, didn't it, Matt? Whereas up until this week, we've been playing a 4-3-2-1 with Castledine, and Alfie May normally drops into midfield as well. And that's where we had a little bit of a look with playing football through the middle. We looked like we could play football at times, not all games, but at times. Yet it was this weird 5-3-2 because, like you say, Harness had to drop back in because he was getting nothing as the 10. Humphreys was all over the place in the first half, and Charles did very little at all. But there was just so many disconnects in that first half, from everybody on the field to everybody on the sideline not actually seeing it, because when the team comes out for the second half, Matt, and there's no changes again, I could have turned the TV off at that point.
There was no
honestly.
change in style or anything, was there?
No, and that first half was so bad. And like Lincoln, we were lucky to be there at half-time. We were lucky to be in the game. We were lucky again, and there's still no changes. That's what does me in. If you make a mistake we set up, then accept you've made a mistake, be humble enough to accept that you've made a mistake, and then actively change something. Either we don't see it or we don't want to admit we're wrong, because that's the only explanation I can find for why we continue to do it. When it doesn't work, we just continue doing it. Not for the next game, because then we're changing system and we're changing personnel left, right, and centre. But in games, when things aren't working, nothing changes. And this was just example number 20 of this season, or however many it's been, where things haven't gone right. But rather than trying to shift it, we've just done the same thing over and over again. I was lost for words.
It reminds me of Mick Wadsworth, who came in and said, "Trust me, boys, this will work. Newcastle are doing it, etc. This will work. We are playing this way." And it was, and yeah, fair dues, it does work. But if it's not working for you, then it doesn't work. And I just feel like I feel like he sees it, and I feel like that's where maybe he then reverts back to the players, that if he still sees it and he knows that his players can play it in a way where it will work in their own style to cause him problems, then maybe this is kind of like his frustration. But his stubbornness in wanting to keep it the same way is really frustrating for all of us, because we can see there's other ways to play. And this league is bang average. There's some bang average teams in this league. And if you put them under pressure, if you turn them, if you get in behind them, you will get results. And we are not. Do you think it's
Phil? Do you think it's acceptable the way we've gone against Lincoln and Stockport, in that we are treating them like the Barcelona? We have given teams so much respect.
Yeah.
That we've stopped trying to play football ourselves, and we are very much of the mindset where, right, we'll just make sure we don't concede, and we'll try and hit them on the counter, but we'll make sure they don't score. Because I feel we've had a massive overcorrection in that we've conceded so many goals in so many games. Grant's really panicked. Obviously, his job was in the air. Whether it is now or not, we'll talk about that in a bit. But after Wigan especially, it feels like a huge knee-jerk into this kind of, we can't concede goals like this anymore. He's totally got rid of scoring goals as well. But how do you see it, Phil? Because honestly, the way we're treating teams now is so strange and so at odds with what we started the season with.
I don't know if it's a confidence thing. Is it a reflection on his confidence in his players and their ability to withstand pressure if they are going to go and play in a more dynamic way? That's the question I see. I mean, the Lincoln game, I was really impressed with the way we defended and stuck in, to be honest. And let's just remember this: we're in this league for a reason. So it's not our God-given right to rock up to this league and go away from home to one of the top teams and to go and batter them Like, yeah, it's not. I would want us to go and have a go at them 100%. But what I'm saying is, it's not our God-given right that we should be beating all these teams, because we are where we are, unfortunately. Even though we've spent all this money, that's absolutely. Liverpool spent out God knows how many millions, and look where they are. They're absolutely horrendous this season. So it's not our God-given right. But I do feel like there's got to be an element of, we have to have something that will pose a threat to the other team. That's the problem, and I don't think by us going away and being like really defensive and compact is helping us. It really isn't. Get on the front foot, go to these places, trust the players at the back. I feel like they've defended really well recently. Trust the players at the back and let's go and attack teams. We didn't do at Lincoln, and like you said, we were really lucky in that first half, and I felt like we were a little bit unlucky with the goal that we conceded to not come away with a win. And then obviously we still haven't finished talking about Stockport, but we could have snatched this game 1-0. We had a simple chance in front of the goal. We could have walked away from this game 1-0.
Dion Charles is. I need to see this again, but it looked like one of the worst misses I've seen for a long time. He's about 5 inches out, isn't he?
Yeah, but what we would still get, and I get it, we would still get, Lee Grant, your football is shite, because we've struggled against a Stockport team away from home, but we'd have won 1-0. So it's such a frustrating time at the moment, because we're so close. We can show that we can get up against teams, and we've got loads of danger. We talk about Port Vales, etc. We're only teams that are 10 points below us. This league is really tight, so we can still mix it and be a threat. But it's like he's worried that if we get some bad results, then, like you say, job might be on the line. We've got more stick from the fans, etc. That expectation level then rises. I don't know. It's a funny time, really. I've never really played in a team that would sit back and we think we need to go and defend. We always. I mean, I'm thinking when we were young lads with Jacko, and then we went into a league above. Every game we turn up to, it was all about us and our threat. We'd sit on a Friday and we'd look at each individual player that we were playing up against and know their strengths and weaknesses, but we won't be really focused on them as a team. The focus will be on us and how we could make a difference on that pitch. Whether these are doing that, I have no idea.
Right. So we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is Murray Wallace and the water boy. So Murray Wallace got fouled on the line, and a fan ran out and had a go at Murray Wallace and threw water at him. It's not the heavyweight contest that people expected to be. Murray Wallace got up, called him a few names. Job done. You can't throw water at footballers. You can't do that. So he got kicked out.
He used to have skills thrown at me.
Did you eat him?
Skills thrown at me. He used to pick them up and eat them.
Oh dear. Not like what's his name from Brentford, J Tab, who had the smarty lid thrown at him and he went down in front of the fans. Oh, yeah. So this has actually now made the talkSPORT website, and it says League One clash stopped as fan clashes with opposition staff. And it's basically, it sets the scene, doesn't it, about the game, blah, 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 blah. No one cares, talkSPORT. And then it says, in the images, the member of staff can be seen face-to-face with a home fan in what looks to be a furious confrontation. Fans and staff come to blows. They've obviously blown this a little bit out of proportion. The Huddersfield employee was identified on social media as Kitman Andy Brook, who appeared to charge into the stands at Edgeley Park to confront the supporter. Another picture shows a match official stepping in to calm things down while Terriers boss Lee Grant watches on in the background. The unsavoury scene caused the game to be halted briefly while no mention of the altercation was made, either team's match reports, despite images clearly showing tempers flaring in the stand. I mean, they've kind of gone a bit overboard there, and there's a picture of Brookie and the other guy having a pop at each other. I mean, Brookie's not the only one to... I mean, that guy at Stockport's not the only one Brookie's given some hammer to, is he, Killer?
No, I have been brookied myself. I have fallen victim to me too. This is my moment to shine here. Brookie, he's got form for this nonsense. And now, Phil, we've been talking about this before, and you're not surprised, are you, Phil? You can't be too surprised that he's done this.
Brookie is a competitive sportsman.
Competitive, yeah. Cheat. He's a cheat, because I'll explain my experience with him. At the time, I was playing in Scotland. I came home from uni just to keep fit. I played a couple of games for Soccer City. Down at Waterloo. To be fair, I think Ash Flynn played for him for a bit. Anyway, we were playing coaching horses, I think it were. They're from Cumberworth, and they played up at Stores Hall. Anyway, We played them twice in a row. First week, I think I bagged 4 or 5 and we beat them comfortably. Second week, we played them away from home, up at Stores Hall. Anyway, Brookie's playing for them. Somebody must have had a word, so he took kick-off. New style kick-off, I suppose. It's back in fashion where it goes back to the centre-back. Everybody loads down one side and you go for it. So we've taken kick-off. As I'm playing... you know what I mean?
More than 5-a-side, surely.
No, it's 11-a-side. We were proper 11-a-side. It was proper 11-a-side. It was Huddersfield Sunday League, top division. We won it. We did all right that year. Anyway, it's gone back to our centre-back. We've loaded one side. We're all bezzing up the wing. I'm playing number 9. So just as the ball's gone, I'm putting it my fastest down, gone straight past Brookie. And just as I've got past him, he swung his elbow full fucking strength right into my jaw and gullet. Anyway, couldn't breathe. I could not breathe. I was down on the floor for about 5 minutes. Genuinely, it's the hardest I've ever been in. We'd only just kicked off. I am a shithouse when I play. I am when I coach. I'm awful. Like I like the dark arts of football, and I like that when I'm playing. So given 20, 25 minutes, I'd have said some things and probably have deserved it. However, at that point, I'd done absolutely nothing. And as I've mentioned to you boys, I've been subbed off 3 times in my life for being injured, and that was one of them. So Brookie has done me. However, Matt, I will say, I feel a little bit sorry for the guy in the stands, yeah? He's pissed at Murray Wallace thinking he's dived. And to be fair, Murray Wallace got up very, very quickly after a little bit of water had been on him, after he'd gone down like he'd been shot. So I do think there was some, whilst you'll never condone that behaviour of throwing anything on a player on the field, he did go down a little bit easier because I've never seen Murray Wallace move as quick.
Get him, Brookie.
I thought he probably thought he was thirsty. You know what I mean?
Brookie's gone up in my estimation, though, Phil. After he slaughtered the vegan.
Listen. So, do you know what I'll say about Brookie is? He's not bothered where he is. He'll defend any of those players from that team. So if there's been some, 100%. Yeah.
I tell you what, he didn't apologise. He didn't come and check on me while on the floor writhing in pain. He had no problem. He walked straight off. I didn't get carried off.
About us.
I walked off on my own accord. It was absolutely fine, but not once did he check on me. And after the game, when I'm still trying to get myself together, he didn't come and say thank you or you all right afterwards either. Nothing. Not a yellow card. Nothing. So Brookie, it's a good job you're not in charge of town, because if Brookie ever is in charge of town, I'll be on here slating him week in and week out.
I often think about these dugouts that we see. So these dugouts where fans literally can almost lean over and speak to players. I do think it's a little bit random because it's so easy to get into a confrontation with away supporters or even home supporters in some cases. So I think there needs to be a little bit of review on these, because it's not, emotions are high. Do you know what I mean? There's pressure on all sides, and a kitman will feel pressure as well, and physios and etc. So I don't think it's an easy situation when you're sat in and around home fans. But I don't know what happened. I don't know exactly what happened. So.
No, I don't think any of us do really, but there looks to be a face-to-face. I don't.
Nice picture of it though. He's aging well. He's got plenty of grey hair, isn't he?
Silver Fox. Ruben Ruskin showed us why Sorensen's been playing left wing back recently, hasn't he? I thought he had a. Do you know what? When he's good, Ruskin. But when he's bad, he's really bad. And
When's he good? When's he good, Matt?
Last year maybe, but it's like when.
When?
I don't know, Phil. Don't put me under pressure.
When the weather was warm and the grass were nice and people played nice.
Crawley, when we beat Crawley.
He had 7 options of a pass. Like honestly, like that guy is like the heart the size of a pea. It's ridiculous. You could see. Sorry, mate. I know I've jumped in, but like you could see the pitch probably weren't great. You could see it were hard. So the ball were bouncing pretty difficult. It was skinning on you, probably a little bit loose underfoot. He did not fancy that game one bit. I'll tell you that now. It has stepped foot onto that pitch and thought, this ain't me. I'm telling you that 100%.
What disappoints me, Phil? Ruben Ruskin's been out for a couple of weeks, not playing. Joe Taylor's been out for a couple of weeks, not playing. And then both, when they've been given the opportunity today, just didn't fancy it at all. And Joe Taylor is... I've dug Joe Taylor out before because I think he's a little bit lazy. A ball went... just before Stockport scored at the end, we'll gloss over Dion Charles's miss from 7-10 inches, maybe.
Yeah.
When Joe Taylor... There's a ball goes forward to Joe Taylor, and it's vastly in his favour. And he just ambles towards it. The Stockport defender who's played for 90 minutes takes the ball off him. The ball goes forward and it leads to the free kick, which Gooch gives away. And it is a pretty bad killer, I'll give you that. It's not the best tackle and he does get a yellow for it.
Terrible.
if I'm Joe Taylor and I've not played for 4 weeks, I'm thinking, right, I'm going to show this bloke here that I should be in this team. I'm gonna work my ass off and I'm gonna win that ball and lay it off. But I don't know. He's just one of those players, isn't he? Who just kind of like doesn't want to get his hands dirty until the ball's in the box and it's put on a plate for him. That's what it feels like. And I'm not blaming Taylor for the goal, by the way, but I just expected more from him, and I expected more from Ruskin as well after being out for a couple of weeks. But they've just, if anything, they've vindicated Lee Grant's selection. If anything,
what poor man management, Matt. I think they've both been told they can moved on. We've seen interviews this week from Lee Grant talking about players that are not on his plans, and that kind of naturally happens. And then you're expecting a performance out of them. You can't go public with stuff like that and then expect them to perform.
Did he say anything about them both?
No, but I think you put 2 and 2 together. No, he didn't. But I think with Joe Taylor, it's pretty visible looking at him that he's not happy with what's going on. Yeah, exactly. He's dropped him out. Came in as a big deal, didn't he? Mark Cartwright chauffeured him from the train station or wherever to the stadium, and there was a massive deal made of it.
He got thanked, Mark Cartwright, for that deal.
He got thanked for that, didn't he?
Fans wanted him. He were the one.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
That we needed.
But how can you expect him to perform? It was pretty clear he wasn't in Lee Grant's plans. And then
he's a professional footballer, mate. He's a professional footballer.
He's a young lad. He's a young lad with an attitude. He's a young lad with an attitude, and you've got to have an attitude to make it professional. Maybe, but I still think you've got to be a bit of an arsehole to be a professional footballer. Sorry, Phil. I think generally to play as outfielder and as a goal scorer, you've got to be a bit of an arsehole. You have to be greedy. You have to think you're better than everybody else, right? So then when he's like that, you can't then say, well, I don't want him to be like that. That's what he is. And it takes a good man, a good manager to control that, to give him what he needs. If he's not in the team, you explain that to him in a rational way. But obviously, whatever's happening, he isn't being managed the way he needs to be managed. Maybe it is his fault. Maybe it's not his fault. Whatever it is, when he gets 4 minutes at the end of a game, in a game that he should have been on 30 minutes prior to it because Dion Charles was so poor, he knows that. The other players know that, and you think they don't talk about it. Yeah. The way the game was managed was an absolute joke. Mikel Miller had been put back in the team. Why did he not get no game time yesterday? Can anyone explain that? Because he was crying out for him to run down that way because Ruskin was awful, right? He was so poor. Mikel Miller should have come on. And if he's not fit enough to come on, why isn't Ashier on the bench?
Holding out for a draw. That's what it is. Saving players.
Well, exactly. There's so many elements to it that I think is absolutely off and wrong. But Joe Taylor, he doesn't look like he's arsed, Matt. And that is an issue. But then again, there is a person in charge of these people.
Before that was either. And you look at the comments from Luton. You look at the comments from Luton as well. It's the same at Luton.
But you know what, though? Comments falling out. Yeah, Killer, you're 100% right. Don't bring him on. Honestly, because if we know that that's his attitude, because he's shown it, he can't be asked getting his body in between a ball and a player. Scared to death of it. He just gets leaned on every time and balls back to us, and he's proved it. So I wouldn't have had him anywhere near the squad because he hasn't performed. You grow some balls, like show us that you want to get involved. Show us that you want to hold the ball up for us. Show us that you want to link play. Show us that you want to get into the box. He hasn't done that, and then there's a reason why they've left him out. Why are we bringing him back in? Why are we bringing him back in? Do something. Bring something else in. Do something else. Do you know what I mean? Don't bring him back in because if he's got that attitude, he's going to show that attitude, and he did. He did. It was embarrassing. The fact that defender just jumped in front of him, he was miles off it, and he just let him have it. And when we say I'm not blaming him for goal, I'm a goalkeeper. I'm blaming him for goal because if you don't do your job at the top of the pitch, then there's issues coming back. And then it's Gucci's problem, and then it goes out wide, and it's Radulevic's problem because he's put a ball in, and then it comes into the box, and then I'm questioning Nichols as well, to be honest. So then, but it starts from up there. It starts from right up there. If you can't get your job right up there, when someone zings a ball into you, or the ball's got played into you, and you can't hold up so your team can advance, because what happens is ball goes up, you've got a centre midfielder who's advancing, it's not held up, then you're back again, and you're yo-yoing. And these, honestly, strikers do my head in. And I know you're one, because you just told me. Strikers do my head in. They've got to work harder, they've got to hold the ball up better, do a better job, and then score goals every time you hit box. If it's 5 yards out, you're banging it in and it should be a goal. If not, sack him off and get him off the pitch. Strikers are useless. I
think he agreed with me more than you there, Killer, to be fair.
I don't know which way that went. I just feel like I was abused again.
I don't know where that went either. Zonal mark, Killer, this is your time to shine. Zonal marking. Stockport, get a free kick. It's a free kick. There's no arguments there. Ollie Norwood hits some beautiful passes, doesn't he? I remember when he played for us and people used to call him Ollie No Good. he's quality, isn't he? He's a quality footballer. He's Norwood. He pings a wonderful ball outright. Nobody goes to the bloke who has it on the right wing. Is it Fevrier? I can't remember who it was. Is it Fevrier? The ball's that's it. Sorry, the sub, wasn't it? The ball comes in. I mean, he's hit it hard, and Nichols has kind of lost it a little bit. I'm not 100% blaming Nichols. I think he's lost it a little bit. I mean, I don't think it's a catchable one, Phil. Definitely not for me or you with our size.
I think he's got to try and help it on a little bit. I feel like he's just pulled his hand away last little bit, and I feel like it just got a little bit big on him. And I think he's decided last minute. You could see he's kind of gone, and then he's kind of brought his arm away, thinking I might not be able to reach this. You talk his split-second decisions, and then I thought he's turned in to try and make a difference, but by then it's too late. And then obviously whoever's marking the man haven't done their job, and it's absolutely.
This is where Killer's going to go mad, because it's all on zonal marking. Is this? And Killer's been mentioning this for weeks, how he hates it. The ball comes over, you freeze frame it. You've got Joe Lowe stood in the middle marking nobody. You've got Radinho Balca, the other centre-back, marking nobody. Murray Wallace has got two men the other side, by the way. Two big centre-backs marking zero, nothing. It comes across, Ruskin doesn't want anything to do with Cal Wootton, anything whatsoever. And then Gooch just inexplicably lets Anderson go, doesn't it? What? It's so bad. But the thing is, there's a big centre-forward and the other striker-ish 10 that they bring on. Should they not be backed by your Joe Lowe's and your Radinho Balcas, or should they have been picked up by your fullbacks?
What you'll get is this, right? And I'll tell you this for a fact, right? If that ball gets whipped into the middle of the box, and you've got two centre halves that pull to the back stick with a striker, because in essence now this isn't a set piece. In essence, this is ball in play. It's ball in play. It's so if you haven't got your first centre half, because this is what you should have really. If you haven't got your first centre half in that front stick area, and then your second centre half in a central area, then you're screwed. And if you're a centre half that's gone to the back stick and you've left that space in the middle, Gaffer's absolutely battering you. So it's a really tricky one, really. We have got a third centre back though, Phil, as well. Remember that we've got an extra one. We've got an extra unit that's still not there either. Yeah, exactly. But that's it. I thought it was a wonderful play by Stockport, and now I think this is a training ground classic. This one, I think they know the way we defend, and now if the cross goes in initially, you want your big beefy guys in the middle to head it out, and that's fine. I think we set up okay, but the problem was as soon as Okeke, which I have to say his touch was phenomenal. That ball comes at him as a ping, and he's chested it perfectly down the line. I don't think Bojan could do too much. There's three lads out there. They had a dummy runner that took Bojan away. I know you could have said he stuck a leg out a little bit better, Phil. I understand that. Is he right foot or left footed, that winger? I've got no idea, Okeke. I don't know. I don't put the ball in right footed or left footed. No idea. Right. Well, they all should know because he was right footed. He's got to send him back up pitch, and then you get your 5 yards up, 10 yards up, and then you reset. Do you know what I mean? And that's the biggest. That's such a schoolboy error. Put him on his left foot. But as soon as Stockport have switched out to Okeke, that's when they've put Wootton onto the back post. And at that point, Phil, that's when I think you do have to go man for man a little bit. You can't leave Wootton 6'4" back post with Ruskin. You just can't do that. That should never happen. As soon as it becomes a second phase, surely one of your centre backs, because like you say, all game we had one centre back on Wootton and two other centre backs doing pretty much nothing else, just filling the space. One of them's got to go and track him. And to be fair, even though it was a nice design play, it did take a little bit of time to get back in, and I do think you had time to adjust. And with you, I think Nichols should have done better. But when you've got Andresen, who's 6'1" as well, Matt, it's a design play. They've put the big guys on the back post on the second phase, and we've just totally not read it. And Gooch, he's given away the free kick for no reason. Then he stands on the edge of the 6-yard box and watches him go past him. It's inexcusable, that type. It is. You can't. He's turned off twice. He's lost the game for us. I understand what he's saying about Taylor, Phil, and they should have done better further up the field. I get that. But Gooch has given away a stupid free kick for absolutely no reason because they were going nowhere at that point. And to be fair, when Owls came on at 70 minutes, for the rest of the game, I actually thought it was quite 50-50. I didn't think they were much in it. We opened up a little bit. We wouldn't have deserved to get anything to win the game based upon the first 70 minutes. But I thought we looked okay. And then Gooch has thrown it away for us by doing two stupid things. And that's again. He could have scored. Yeah, he had a chance as well, didn't he? Just after Charles, I think it was. He went down the right side and had an effort. It was quite wide, and there were a couple of Stockport lads in the middle that
nearly blocked it, but 2 stupid errors there from him. Ruskin wants none of it. I'm with you, Nichols. I don't know what he's doing, to be honest. I think if he lets it over and he's there to try and stop the shot, he might have been able to stop it because he didn't go into the corner of the net either. It was a poor play. We switched off. Because we thought the game was done. We thought we'd already won that game. We thought we were going to be able to head it out because we'd won those headers all day long. But that's what a good manager does. That's what Dave Challoner does. He changes it up when you don't expect it. That's what good managers bring you. Challoner won that game by having that design play for a free kick because it beat us all ends up. And it was a free kick worthy of winning a game. It was a beautiful bit of football.
Great ping on it. What a ping that was.
I'm just watching it again on a loop. It's painful.
Hey, do me a favour. Can you look at that loop and have a look at who we're marking, the lad who actually scored the goal from the initial free kick?
Let's have a look. Will we be able to?
Because that'll be interesting.
Gooch.
I think it is Gooch. It kind of cuts off again, but yeah, when it goes wide,
Gooch and Alves.
Bojan's at left back. We're trying to block the cross.
One of the biggest players on the left back class.
Yeah,
makes sense, doesn't
it? Gooch. To be fair to Taylor, there's quite a lot goes on after he loses that ball. By the way,
got to hold it up. You got to hold it up.
Yeah, but yeah, Gooch. It's Gooch. Yeah, it looks like Gooch, unfortunately. I think, but
the issue is, Matt,
as soon as it goes, then it's good.
What you're saying about there's a lot of stuff that went on after that, but it's demoralising when you're struggling and you know you're under pump and you play somebody on top and you can't get someone to hold the ball up for you so you can get your lines on. It's horrendous. It's an awful feeling when you're on the pitch. Fans will be saying like, "Oh, we're sat so deep." You can't get out because no one will hold it up for you. You literally cannot get out.
Yeah. Anyway, we've been rambling on for an hour here. I didn't think we'd be able to do 30 minutes, but we haven't even got a proper agenda. It's gone on for quite a while. This. Anyway, speaking of rambling, this week we have had our fill of voice notes that have come in, and our voice box. I think I'm Kane for a minute there, killer. Our voicemail is off the charts here. So if I press this red button, we should get a number of our squadlings. With their thoughts on the
Malcolm
game.
There?
Let's find out.
My friend Malcolm.
Bonjour. Je m'appelle Bouvet.
Hello. There is no one here to take your call, so for your convenience, we have answered it automatically. Now, don't hang up. When you hear the tone, leave your name and a brief message, and we will contact you upon our return.
Now then, lads, it's Malcolm Guitars from Marvin Road. Fresh off the back of calling into BBC Radio Leeds. I tell you what, lads, I was really nervous speaking to Matthew Glennon. He was one of my favourite players when I was 17. Oh, what a bloody player he was. Anyway, I'm back in my comfort zone now, speaking to HTTC and all them lads. First thing I want to do, though, pardon me, that's my angina. First thing I want to do is just have it out with you, Matthew. I listened to the podcast last week and you were throwing shade at me. You were saying I mustn't have had much on over Christmas period. I'll have you bloody know. If I wanted to, I could click my fingers like that and I'd be over at bloody We Are Terriers, earning £1,000 a week talking about bloody Doritos or whatever rubbish they bloody talk about. And also, oh, bloody hell. Sorry, I'm going to have to come back to you.
Hey up, it's Barlow here. Well, another week as what a performance against a side that was supposed to be challenging for the playoffs. What do? We camp in the zone half the majority of the game. Stockport absolutely dominated us. Should have won easily. Got what they deserved in the end. Dion Charles runs about like a chicken with his head cut off. The only thing he's good for is being offside. Ryan Ledson is the worst captain we've had in decades. Absolute ghost of a player. Goes missing all the time. Lee Grant, awful manager. Absolutely risk-averse. Scared shitless of losing. You've got Dave Challoner on opposite dugout throwing subs on to try and win the game. Got what they deserved in the end. We wait far too long. How many more of these embarrassing disappointment performances are town fans going to have to endure? All we want is fight, passion, endeavour. We're seeing none of it. We are as far removed from a northern football team as you can possibly imagine. I tell you what, Lee, for the majority of town fans, you can take your group and you can take your learnings and shove them up your arse. Anyway, I've made a New Year's resolution to try and be a bit more positive. So I tell you what, guys, have a lovely day and long live Malcolm Murgatroyd. Up the chuff in town.
Colin from Manchester here. So I work in Stockport, and once again I'm going to have to go into the office and suffer the indignity of a ribbing from Stockport fans. I don't really know what to say anymore. I think that it's pretty obvious that run over Christmas against some of the worst sides in the division just masked quite how limited a manager Grant really is. As soon as he comes up against anyone that's sort of semi-competent and that can organise a team, it's just found wanting. One substitution at the 70th minute and then another one around about 85 minutes. Will Alves did make a difference when he came on, but and I thought Murray Wallace and the guys at the back generally were pretty sound and solid, but midfield was completely non-existent and just constantly put the back line under pressure because of their inability to either want the ball when we're out of possession or hold on to the ball once we had it. One of the worst centre-forward displays I've seen from Dion Charles since Alex Dyer 30 years ago. And I don't really know what we do because we ain't going to sack this manager. I think we're just going to drift into mid-table like we did last season, to be honest with you. And good luck to Kev turning the situation around from here.
Robert from Storm's End here. And I'm raging, Robert, this week. If we'd have wanted a bus driver, then we should have given the job to Sir Barriston, who does the 258 from Warrington to St. Helens. I need more wine.
I think it's time for Grant to go. Matt said in recent pod, getting a new manager in probably doesn't do anything for this team, which is fair enough. But at the minute, with Grant, he's not getting anything against these top teams, which means the promotion's pretty much done. If we can't get anything against them, we're not going to make the playoffs, or even if we do get into the playoffs, we're just going to end up embarrassed and disappointed in that. So even if you get a new manager in, it's not going to get any worse. But at the best, it might give him time to get the rest of this season, write it off, and get a style in play to have a good go at it next season. But I don't think Kev will do it. I think he's too stubborn. I think he knows he's made this choice with Grant, and I think he's going to stick to it. The 7-game unbeaten were actually bought him a bit of time as well, so that doesn't help. But a 0-0 point today would have been a good point, but the performance was shocking, so that had masked it. It's just depressing at the minute. It's a shambles.
Just finished watching Stockport against Town on telly. My feed was on about a 2-minute delay, but not as much as a delay as the Huddersfield Town team. They were about 4 minutes off the pace in that game all the way through. I mean, when the ball goes up to Bojan, he won loads of headers, and it takes him to head the ball before Charles even reacts to where it's going. It was so annoying, but not as annoying as Lee Grant. How can he just sit and watch that and not make any changes and just allow it to happen? It's just absolutely mind-boggling. And then the Alves comes on. It looks a bit more lively, but I mean, why leave it so late? And Joe Taylor, I mean, he just didn't do anything, did he? Oh, it's just so lazy, so annoying. Frustrating one.
I'm doing this right after the final whistle. We've lost 1-0 to Stockport in the 95th minute. I mean, the performance was absolute garbage for pretty much the vast majority of the game. Probably about 10 minutes where we were all right. Pretty much when Will Alves came on, I thought Alves and Radulovic were pretty much the only good players. I thought Humphries did all right. I don't know why he's played him there. I just don't get it. I mean, Lee Grant is just, he's so tactically naive and just, I don't know. I mean, right after the final whistle, I'm sat there thinking, I just don't want him here anymore. I just think a competent manager wins us these games. Because I didn't think Stockport were that good in the second half. Look, we deserved to lose the game on the entire balance. I didn't think Stockport were that good. They've huffed and puffed all game. They've barely had any shots. They've barely done anything. But we've sat here and we've come away and they've deserved to win. And that's what upsets me more, is that they've deserved to win a game and they've not really done anything in the second half. But they've deserved to win it. because they've just showed more effort. They've got an actual midfield because, I don't understand his decision-making on our midfield. It's ridiculous. Anyway, up the town. Maybe we'll have a new manager next time.
Sorry about that, lads. I just I had to nip off there, you see. The wife were calling me downstairs to go and look after the child. You'd think at 115-year-olds he'd give me a bloody day off, wouldn't you? But no, I'm bloody going like clappers me looking after kids. I'm tripping over kids at the moment. It's bloody ridiculous. But anyway, it saves us talking about Huddersfield Town, doesn't it? If I want to say one thing about Huddersfield Town, I'd say get that bald fraud gone. I'm bloody sick to back teeth of watching this team try and play bloody football. And, it's just a sad state of affairs when we have to see, folk like bloody Dion Charles running around and booting balls off at stand and bloody slicing shots from 1 yard when the keeper's on his Harris. It bloody sickens me. But yeah, I think I'll wrap it up there. Anyway, last thing I wanted to say was a young man by the name of Daniel got in touch with me and said, can you give a shout out to my grandfather Barry? Upon a little bit of investigation, I did actually find out that his grandfather Barry went to the same school as me back in 1852. And I just want to say, your grandfather was a right bastard, Daniel. Anyway, up the town.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time. Goodbye.
I feel like Radio Leeds myself, having to apologise for Malcolm's unruly language again. Having a pop at me there, but he's obviously the Walder Frey of Huddersfield Town fandom is Malcolm. So thanks to everyone who left a voice note. Just a couple of things before we go, boys. Why is it so toxic every time we lose? What's I think this has come as a question, and someone who I think he wanted to remain anonymous, so I'll keep it that way. Wanted me to propose this question to you guys. We've just lost for the first time in 8, and people are going nuclear. I'm staying off of social media most of the time these days. I don't go on anywhere near as much as I used to do. But every time we lose, it's just the world's caving in. Every time we win, it's quiet. It's a strange time, isn't it? And the reason why I think it's that way is that we've been promised, or we've been told that certain things are happening and good times are coming, etc. And since 2019, it's just been a really bad watch, hasn't it? Huddersfield Town, we feel like we've been let down as fans quite a lot. Players are sold, which is obviously part and parcel of football, but not really reinvested massively, I think, in some cases. Kevin Nagel's come in, he's thrown his money about, fair play. But things have got worse. The more money he puts in, the worse it kind of gets, as it does with football sometimes. But I think Huddersfield fans are fed up, to be honest. Even the Carlos Corberán season, it felt like Town fans, there were a small section didn't want to enjoy it because they'd made up their mind that Carlos Corberán wasn't the man for them. So I know a few people stopped going because they didn't like him. I thought he was good by the end, but each their own. Some people didn't like the football, even though we were winning, and we got a decent goal difference for once in the Championship. Then came Danny Schofield, Fotheringham, Darren Moore, and all those that followed. Apart from Neil Warnock, that 6-7 weeks under Neil Warnock was a lot of fun, and I think that's the most together Huddersfield Town fans have been for quite a while. But other than that, I think we've been sold a dud, and I think people are fed up. And Lee Grant, for me, is when you look at some of the facts, if you take the emotion away from it, and if you haven't watched the game, so if you're a neutral looking in, you'll go, do you know what? Huddersfield Town were 4th going into this game. They were unbeaten in 7. Lee Grant's first gig as a manager, things look to be going all right for Huddersfield. They're 4th, they're challenging. But yeah, if you speak to Huddersfield fan, they hate Lee Grant, they hate his football, they hate his face. Do you know what I mean? They hate everything about him. You know, his press conferences, everything. and when we lose, it goes very, very toxic. And I do think that Lee Grant has been judged by the sins of the past before him, and I just think it's a built-up ball of frustration that comes out when we don't lose, because we get promised this and that, and it feels like it's another false dawn every time we lose. But maybe as fans we need to take a breath sometimes. Some people do, but I think some people also have valid criticisms when it goes like that. But for me, Phil, I think it's a build-up of previous year's failure as much as anything Lee Grant's done, and I just don't think as fans we're capable really of letting that go. And I think he's guilty for the sins of the past in some ways. But having said that, what he said at the start hasn't also come to pass as well, although it might take time, I guess. But there's a whole ball of frustration to get through, isn't there?
People want to hear really positive things, don't they, when a new manager comes in? So for a manager to come in and be underwhelming and say that, we just want to try and stabilise, etc., it'd be quite difficult to hear. So they're going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. But you're 100% right. Unfortunately, we've gone from Premier League to where we are now, and I think it's really difficult for not every fan, but for a lot of fans, in terms of the feelings towards the club and what's going on. Unfortunately, there's a lot of fans out there that it's not the word optimistic, but that understand where Huddersfield Town are as a club, where we always have been. We're not a Premier League club. We're a club that's roughly where we are, but challenging for Championship status, etc., and top end of Championship. But it's going to take us a while, and I just think that I agree with you. I think, unfortunately, Lee Grant and managers to come are going to succumb to this kind of attitude and behaviour, because it's difficult for a lot of fans. And until we see, a team that's consistently winning and playing some outstanding, attractive football, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to win the fans back until then. It's a difficult time. It does feel really strange. I stand under the stands at the moment, and it's really quiet. And people are just kind of resigned to the fact that we are kind of just managing kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? There's no optimism at all. There's a lot of negativity. Social media is a disease. It's terrible. Some of the stuff I see on social media, the way that people speak about the chairman and about other people in and around the club, I think is disgusting. It's a game. It's our team, but it's a game. At the end of the day, we're here to support them through thick and thin. There were plenty of supporters supporting us when we were in League Two, and I know that situation was different because we were going through hard times, and it was a response to something that wasn't expected. But it's your team. You've got to go through the hard times, and it is really difficult. And I can imagine it's pretty difficult for the players to play under, to be honest, as well. Putting the sensible head on the non-fan head. I think it's a pretty difficult environment for the players to play in because there is a lot of negativity. I read something the other day really funny. I've talked about when I played and we saw a lot of messages from fans in the Examiner. Mel Booth. I spoke to Mel Booth not so long ago, and he used to post like messages, and I'd get a little bit of stick, and sometimes rightly so. Do you know what I mean? And there was something posted on social media the other day about bad goalkeepers, and it were Owen Goodman, and someone mentioned my name, and it's so easy for you just to look at it and be upset. But I'm a 43-year-old. I couldn't care less what someone without a picture on the profile says about me or anybody. Do you know what I mean? I really couldn't care less. But I'm 43 and I don't play football anymore, and I have a career doing something else. But you imagine these players, they will look on social media. You mentioned to someone doesn't look. It's a really negative environment. It was a really negative environment. But the only way that it's going to change is to win games, unfortunately. And I do think Kevin Nagel's doing everything he can off the pitch. But if you promise certain things on the pitch, it's really difficult to hold yourself to that. It really is difficult.
Look, and you can't blame the fans either, because what we've been sold.
Yeah,
is it? It's difficult. And Phil, Scott, you were better than Scott Bevan. I'll give you that for sure.
Surely better than Scott Bevan.
You were better than Scott Bevan. Don't worry about it, mate. You were better than him. I'm probably better than Ian Gray. To be fair.
It really is not bothered.
I'll give you over Ian Gray and Derek O'Connor. I thought you were better. And taller than Derek O'Connor. We'll give you that.
I'll tell you what, Oko
There's
was
another
absolutely, he was unbelievable. He was an unbelievable keeper. Unfortunately, we're a midget like me, but he was absolutely frightening. But I think Oko was, it wasn't anything to do with football. I think Oko enjoyed life outside of football too.
And his big blonde hair as well. His debut against Nottingham Forest, was it? We lost 2-0 at home. Andy Morrison played centre midfield. That was a good. Yeah, shame that. But anyway, Killer. What do you reckon? I mean, we're quite negative sometimes on this podcast, but it's because it hurts, doesn't it? It hurts when you lose and you. I mean, we didn't expect to win at Stockport. I don't think we've been too frothy this one. I think there might be certain things within the game that have annoyed us, but I think overall we didn't expect us to win at Stockport, so we're probably not as down. Will Alves, we didn't talk enough about Will Alves. Will Alves was great when he came on,
before we got to Will Alves, this is my point of no return. I didn't think Wigan personally. I spoke about Lee Grant, the point of no return for Town fans being Wigan. For me personally, that came against Stockport. Following on from Lincoln game, the way we've approached the game, and do you know what? I wasn't too frothy. I wasn't too upset with everything until the post-match press conference from Lee Grant. That really did bother me. It bothered me a lot. It's another game, right? And you're saying we're winning a few games every time we lose. Why is it apocalyptic? Oh, I nearly got that right. But why is it so bad? But it's apocalyptic, right? Because our form against the top 8 teams is atrocious. Have we won once and drawn once? 4 points, right?
We beat Stevenage
for a team that may have been in the Premier League
before it had formed properly.
I feel like it's a bit of a cop-out to say this is on the back of everything since 2017, 18, 19, right? Our budget this year is as big as anybody's in this division, by Cardiff, I believe, and Luton, maybe. But it's up there, right? You've got to at least compete.
Before I'll let you carry on in a second, but just to clarify that, I think that's why fans are so mad. I don't think if
I don't think we were last year. I don't think it was too bad last year. And I don't think it's been as bad previously. I feel this is the worst.
But do you not feel it's building up though because of last season? I mean, fans got pretty annoyed when John Worthington came in. I
think fans feel misled having season ticket prices gone up and being told that we're going to play brave front-footed football. That's what we was told. We were going to play our own way. And then for a few weeks we did, and we were winning. Then we lost a couple, and we've shat ourselves. Lee Clark-esque, Matt. I think that's the comparison you were making earlier on, where we were brave. We went for it. It didn't work a little bit, so we just went back within ourselves. And then we went, let's not lose then. And we went 43 games unbeaten, but only won 3 of them, or something ridiculous. That's kind of what we've gone through with Lee Grant in a very short period of time. I was okay, Matt, until after the game. Throughout the game, again, it's so defeatist, that approach, and I'm with you. I can't accept that approach against anybody ever. Like, you don't want to get exited. You don't want a 10-1 defeat, which, to be fair, made us all feel a little bit better this weekend. So there's a positive in that our record against Man City has been matched by
but our record against Exeter though.
I know. So would have been done the same had we gone. But this negative football compared to where we were at when season ticket prices have gone up is, I think signing Alfie May saved us somewhat this summer. I feel season tickets would have been even worse when you look at the numbers sold until Alfie May came in, because I think that happened and we all went, actually, we're in for it. We're going for it. Look at us. We've signed the best striker in this division. Over the last few years. We finally got him here. We're going for it. Lee Grant comes in. The way he talks, I didn't like it personally from the first moment. I don't, because I did feel like it was Americanism. We spoke about this, and pre-season, I think we all spoke about in this garage here where I'm sat and I'm freezing at the moment because it's like -2, right? We spoke about Lee Grant, that if we're winning games, it's going to be fine. People think he's genius. But as soon as you start losing, and as soon as you start losing and you're talking the way Lee Grant talks, it turns people off. And I feel like that's what the disconnect is. The disconnect is between the fans, the people who own the club, because of the way things have been spoken about. And, okay, we've got the players, but then they disappear. There's no online diaries anymore. I understand why, because I understand social media is a cesspit. I get it. But then you can't go out when you win. And that's what currently happens. So it's not that they're not on it. They're only on it when you win. And that annoys Town fans. And then when the manager comes out saying he's going to play a certain way, and then all of a sudden we're going to Lincoln and we're going to Stockport, treating it as if we're part-timers going up against a big boy and we just have to hold on and hopefully get something at the end, that gets Town fans on the edge. It does. And I was fine until after the game, and you listen to the interview and he's talking about how good we were, and in moments we just weren't at it, and you're thinking, we're not stupid. Give us some respect, Lee. Come on, man. We know what we're doing. We can see what we're trying to do. Please be honest about it, because it feels like we're being misled. And I think that's why there's a vociferous atmosphere online, because what has been spoken about previously to what we're all seeing now, we all know it's not what was promised. But there's an element from within the club that kind of try and still pretend that it is that way. And the thing that really gets me is this blame on the players over and over and over again. And Matt, you said something that does annoy me. You mentioned it earlier on in this podcast. It's that lack of responsibility from the management when things go wrong. Not once does somebody step up at the moment and say, I got that wrong. My setup was wrong today, or I didn't make the subs at the right time. I was a little bit. That's not happened once. And now I think players respect that, Phil. When the manager admits he's got something on, it takes a little bit of pressure off them. Fans can accept that you're human, that you understand you're a rookie manager, you're learning your way. We'll give you a little bit more time if at least you can admit there's a few mistakes. That doesn't happen at all. That disconnect and that lack of willingness to change to become that person, or from what we've seen so far, 25 games into the season now, 26 now in the league, is it, Matt, for us? We still haven't had that moment. And I've come to the point where I don't think it's ever going to happen. And because of that, because of the lack of substitutions, because of the lack of approach, because of this defeatist attitude and that Lee Clark curve that we've seen to where we are today, I just can't see it working, Matt. He's brought in Lee Grant, he brought in his own players because there was no director of football, right? We're playing his tactics, it's his team talk, it's his lack of managerial insight within games that isn't improving whatsoever, in that we don't make changes when things aren't going right. There's an inability to actually see what's going on. I hear Lee Grant talk about, when I look at this game back, I'll see this, or he should know at full time what's gone in that game, but he doesn't. He refers to needing to go back and watch it again to work out what's gone on.
When he codes it back, when he's coding.
What's that about? We see it in real time. You can see what's not going right, but never is it spoken about after the game. It's always, oh well, when I have a look back, I'll try and work it out. His backroom staff have got very little experience in the roles that they're in currently, but he brought all those guys in. This is his team. The players that we have left over from last year, Matt, as we spoke about, you and me private, there's only, 6 or 7 from last year? It's his squad, and it's still not working. Yet the ownership of fault is never at his door or the ownership of the club's door. It's all on the players not doing their job. But the guys in charge brought these players in. That disconnect between the playing side, the managerial side, and the fans is creating an atmosphere which is toxic, which is awful. The attendances aren't great when you go to the games. Away attendances are still good, like we sold out at Stockport. Burton will sell out next week. And my big worry, though, going into next week is last year, Phil, you were there. I saw you in the pub before. And that's where our season died last year at Burton away, I believed. And I think this is a similar situation. A little bit earlier in the season, but going into Burton now, if we don't get a good result, with the fixtures coming up, because they're not very nice, are they, Matt? Even after Bradford, there's some nice runs of horrible fixtures that we have between now and the end of the season. It's going to be a tough ask, and Burton absolutely pumped us last year, and they got a decent win in the cup yesterday. The form's not too bad at the moment. I won't spoil the drive-in, which we'll do midweek. But everything's off. Everything's wrong. But it's not from the fans not turning out, because they're every single week. The problem is the communication and the method of the communication we're getting at the moment from both ownership and staff at the club. I think it's off, and I don't think that's anything to do with other than the situation we've got now. Maybe we are a little bit more bitey, because it's been failure after failure for season after season. But I think this season on its own, he isn't hitting the expectations we had further, as a bigger gap, than any other season that we've had. I feel like this drop-off this year, from what we're seeing against teams that are going to be there and thereabouts at the end of the season, is way off. And that's what's causing the upset. We can beat crap teams at home at 5-0. No one cares, because whilst they get you in contention for having a good season, they ain't what dictates having a good season. Beating Stockport, going there, giving them a good game, dictates how your season goes. Going to Lincoln, being brave, having a go, dictates that you'll have a decent season or not. But we don't even try it, and I think that's the issue. It's the lack of effort to be brave. And until they try at least to sort that out, they'll never get us back on side.
Do you think there's a time element to this? Because you can... There are a number of examples of pro and negative of giving people time. Lee Clark had 3 years and didn't get us up. The comparison really with Lee Grant and Lee Clark for me is their in-game management. I don't think Lee Clark was particularly great at changing a game which wasn't going our way. But he did provide us with a lot of exciting football, to be fair. Mikel Arteta, Arsenal, hated in his first year, now doing quite well with time. Kieran McKenna at Ipswich, it was around about this time. I think they were in about like 9th, 10th position in League One around about this point in his first season, although he did get a little bit before that, before he turned things around. Does Lee Grant need more time, Phil? Is it a time thing, or would we be wasting time sticking with him? I think that's the sort of question that I don't think I can answer. Killer's answered it. I can't answer it. I'm stuck sort of going, well, at some point you've got to let a manager have enough time to sort through the issues and to work at getting us up. But you can only afford the time to the right person at the same point. And has Lee Grant shown that he's the right person so far? Not really. There are a few things recently that were good, but that's disappeared again. After New Year, it's kind of gone away again, and there's a lot to be frustrated about. But should we give him time? Does he need time, or are we spending too much, or would we be allowing too much time on the wrong man? It's a tough question to answer. I mean, a lot of Huddersfield fans will say bin him now, which is fair enough. It might be the right answer, but do we need to give him more, or?
Honestly, mate, I have no idea. I'm at a point
I have no idea either. Yeah,
I'm same as you. We somebody has to be given time. Somebody has to be given time to build his own group, to get his own ideas across. To form those relationships, to build all sorts of things in behind the scenes. I think somebody has to be given time, but and I thought this guy was the one at the start of the season. I thought he spoke well, like we've mentioned there. Like I feel like you didn't like him, Killer, the way we're talking, but I thought that he was pretty switched on. He's a new kind of manager, FA winning, press room, etc. I just felt like it was now the time. A little bit of money to spend for himself, etc. Now was the time for something new and fresh, and hopefully we can give him a little bit of time. But I don't know. I really can't give you the answer on Lee Grant.
We need.
If somebody else,
that.
Phil, sorry, Matt. If somebody else had been in charge for 3 years before this, right, and Lee Grant comes in and then does this, would your answer have changed?
Well, that's it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes you just know, don't you? Sometimes you have a feel for a manager and you just think, right, do you know what? I like this guy. He speaks sense. He's on the same wavelength as all of us. You know, he's got the same beliefs as what we have, etc. But I don't know. Honestly, Matt, it feels really negative because we're still, playoff contention. Contention is there's still a lot of football to be played. There's a lot of things that can change in this league, 100%. But it's a really strange point of the season, really, and like you just said there, that's the first loss in 8 games, did we say?
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of points dropped that we should have gained.
Yeah, we've only won 3 as well, so 3 and 10 I think we've won. So again, you can flip that the other way around. You look at the fixtures. I the only thing I was going to say, Killer, was we need that bleep hot text to confirm whether he's any good, don't we? So Town have got Rotherham in the AFL Trophy on Tuesday. But in league, they've got Burton away, which is going to be tough. We've got Bradford at home, which will be tough. We've got Luton at home, which is going to be tough. We've got Peterborough away, and all of a sudden Peterborough are making Killer look like a genius because he predicted them to be towards the top 6 this season. That's going to be tough. We've got Blackpool at home then, who were turning a corner under Ian Evatt, and then they've gone backwards again, but they could turn again. We've got Stevenage away, and this is all up to Valentine's Day. It's a very, very brutal run. And I think at that point, if things are still the same after Stevenage and we can't turn in a performance against... So if we don't beat or one of at least Bradford, Luton, Peterborough, Stevenage, I can't see him still being here at that point. And I think that'll be maybe the board's cut-off point and just say...
Pretty sad saying if we can't beat one of them because really we should be winning a lot more games than
that. Well, this is it so far, isn't it, Phil? Because when you look
Crazy,
at... Yeah, if you look at the League One table, and this is what everyone's alluding to, we've played Cardiff once, we lost. We've played Lincoln once, we drew, which is not a bad point. Played Bradford once, who were third, we lost. We played Stockport twice, we lost both times. Played Bolton twice, I think we played in the FA Cup, lost both times. Played Luton once, lost. We've played Stevenage and we beat them before the league was really sort of forming. What was it, third game of the season? We won away at Reading, who are 9th, but Reading have kind of come through that as well. Again, that was second game of the season. We struggled to beat Peterborough, who were 10th, who were in the bottom 4 at the time. Wickham, who were 11th, we lost to Mansfield, are in 12th at the minute. But that sort of top 10 or 11, our form is really bad against, and you can't be getting promoted, which was the aim at the start of this season, by losing to everyone. And can you imagine getting in the playoffs and having pretty much every playoff team having done the double over us going into it? You just have absolutely no faith whatsoever and that we'll get through it. I mean, it'd be very Huddersfield Town to draw both games and win penalty shootout and get promoted, but we're not in. It's such a weird place to be in, and I get why people are frothy. I get why people say give him time. I have absolutely no idea because I have no idea whether Lee Grant's any good or not. I can't work out whether he just needs time or whether it's never going to work. I thought it was coming through it Christmas and New Year, but now it's gone back again, and I think the evidence points to probably not at the minute, but I don't want us to pull the trigger too early either, because I thought we pulled the trigger too early on Michael Duff, in all honesty. But we'll have to see. And I think that's probably affecting the board's current take as well, that we pulled the trigger too early on Michael Duff. What happens if we're doing it again? So I think they're trying to give Lee Grant every inch of rope.
Hey, Matt, what about this? Are you ready? You ready, killer? Thumbs up or thumbs down? 3, 2, 1, go.
For what? Oh, for Lee Grant.
I
thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say.
The thing is with it that really annoys me is that, again, if you look at this squad to me is better than our performing, right? So then it comes down to the manager, and if you throw at me, nah, the players aren't good enough, right? The players aren't good enough to get promoted. Yeah. He brought them in because there was no director of football at that point, and that was then. I don't
think they're mentally tough enough. Is my, but again, that could be the manager. I don't know. It could be. Because Ryan Ledson
it's ridiculous.
You know what though, boys, it feels like we're on the precipice that if the next couple of games go wrong, the players will visibly show you on the field that they've lost faith. I think that's kind of where we're at. It really feels like we're at the part of the season where we're going to find out very quickly where we are, because games are running out. There's only 20 left, which I know feels like a lot. But again, when you look at the fixtures that we've got, if you slip up against a Burton, then you've got to go somewhere like a Luton. I know they're coming towards, but you have to get a positive result there, and there's no faith at the moment in that. There was a period in the season where Alpha May was visibly unhappy with pretty much everybody on the pitch. We had everybody falling out left, right, and centre. That kind of went when we were beating the poor teams, but now we're back into this thick run of tough fixtures, and I think we'll really find out where we are very, very quickly. But if we wait until Valentine's Day massacre, Matt, it'll be too late to save this season.
Yeah.
The season's over. I think that's the thing. You either gamble now, and if we don't gamble now, which I don't think we're going to by the look of it, this is us this season. That's the gamble we're taking.
I think the question is, who is there to bring in as well? That's the $1 million thing. Could we attract someone good enough? I don't know. I think people forget it's League One manager. A lot of managers don't want to. If they've been managing the Championship, they don't want to make that drop because then they're labelled as a League One manager.
And then who wants to come to a club where they know they'll do the research, where they know it's just really negative at the moment?
Yeah,
it's a tough ask for someone to drop down from anywhere.
Imagine Gary Rowett. Gary Rowett's the name I've seen mentioned. If he comes in, Gary Rowett's football is renowned for being dour, negative, stodgy. Yeah. It'd be on. I mean, if he gets results, it's one thing, but again, you go back to the Carlos Corberan season where the fans won't buy into it. Tony Mowbray, I think, is too ill. Nigel Pearson's been mentioned, but I think he's got problems with his back still, so I don't think he's... Liam Manning's the other one, but I think Liam Manning's had some personal issues. I don't know if he's ready to come back, and again, the timing's got to be right on that. But as well, he's been paid very handsomely to not manage anyone by Norwich at the minute, and that's the other thing, the contracts of the out-of-work managers. The same with Gary Rowett, who... At Oxford, he's currently being paid. If he takes a job at Huddersfield, he has to give that up, doesn't he? So there's a lot. We've been rambling on for way too long here. It's an hour and 40 minutes. What are we doing? What have we been doing? Last thing, Phil, playoff trophy that you helped secure is in the He's in the old boardroom, locked away. The story there, Killer, is that Ken Davey was too tight to pay for it, isn't it?
You're asking me to throw him under the bus. Yes, I believe that is the correct story. But do you know what? With a bit of luck, we could have a double trophy open bus tour this year if we beat Rotherham on Tuesday night, flying in the LDV/Virtue Trophy. That and bringing out the 03, 04. That might be how we can finish this season, Matt. What a lovely way that'd be to end it.
I think we'll win the Virtue Trophy this season. I've just got a feeling that we might win that. I probably won't now. I've jinxed it, but I think that's our saviour this season. Finish 8th and win the Virtue Trophy. I don't think that'd be. I don't know if that'd be a good season or not. I don't think it would be, would it? I think that's it. Phil, tell us about that playoff trophy and how nice it would be to be reunited with it.
Pardon?
How nice would it be to be reunited with it?
Yeah, they need to get us all back, don't they? So we can just sit around it and just like talk about the final, can't we? And have a few beers. No, do you know, it's something that you never really think about that we don't have it. I never realised that we didn't have it at the club. To be honest, we were, we mentioned this before. Like we were only young kids, so we didn't really know much about it or whether it's something you keep hold of. So I think it's a great gesture from Mr. Nagel that he's got hold of it for us because it's part of our history. Do you know what I mean? And it's a part of a lot of people's enjoyment of the club and where it first started. So it's a nice thing, and it's not really been mentioned in between the lads, but I just think it has come at a really nice time. To kind of think about TAF at the same time and to celebrate what happened in the past at such a and when we talk about it, it's such a difficult time for the club. Let's put that into perspective. The club is not in a difficult time at the moment. We were in a really difficult time back then, and maybe that's why people pull together a little bit more. But it's great, and I think for those stadium tours, it'll look fantastic. People will be stood there for ages looking at that and just thinking, my God, League Two, playoff finalists.
Do you remember Phil Senior's save against Hull City?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Yeah, Liam Lawrence, what were you doing, lad?
Yeah, that was good. That was it, Leon Lawrence. It couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, could it? That one
couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
I listened to his Under the Cosh interview that I did, and after 5 minutes, I was like, "What a dickhead this lad is! What an absolute dickhead!" And
do you know what? And I bet they loved him on that, didn't they? I bet they loved him on Under the Cosh.
They love everyone. Don't they?
He was an absolute clown.
Yeah, we were on about fighting with somebody and like knocking someone out in training. I just thought, what a dickhead this guy is. I think that's it. Phil, thanks for coming on again.
Enjoyed it.
Killer. Yeah, Killer, thanks, mate. I don't know why I'm thanking you. Me and you do this podcast, so yeah, maybe it's your turn to thank me.
Matt. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know at the minute. Hopefully things will become clearer in the not too distant future, but final thoughts for Terry Yorath as well. A wonderful man who will be missed by everyone associated with Huddersfield Town Football Club. Thanks, everyone, and we'll be back with the drive-in later this week.
Huddersfield, the best team in the land, the biggest league in football since the Football League began. We'll follow them to hell and back, we'll answer every call. We think they are the greatest team that's ever kicked a ball. About a mile from Huddersfield, down on the A62, there is a place we call Leeds Road I'd like to show to you. It's there that all our heroes play, there's none can match their skill. And we all know no matter what, there's none that ever will. Yeah, Huddersfield, the best team in the land, the biggest thing in football since the Football League began. We'll follow them to hell and back, we'll answer every call. We think they are the greatest team that's ever kicked a ball. We know that there are many teams with followers and fans who said that we had our day, but they don't understand that we've just been regaining strength and now our rest is done. We'll show them how the game is played back in Division 1. Yeah, rule the Terriers, the cowshed boys are we. We shall cheer our team team to victory. Yeah, Huddersfield, the best team in the land, the biggest thing in football since the Football League began. We'll follow them to hell and back, we'll answer every call. We think they are the greatest team that ever kicked a ball. So come on down to Huddersfield and watch the Terriers play. Come and shout and chant and cheer, you won't regret the day. You came with us to watch the greatest team that's ever played. The greatest game of football since the first football was made. Yeah, Huddersfield, the best team in the land, the biggest thing in football since the Football League began. We'll follow them to hell and back, we'll answer every call. We think they are the greatest team that's ever kicked a ball. Yeah, Huddersfield, the best team in the land, the biggest thing in football since the Football League began.